everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Cindy Daycheck with Queen Bee Creations, and this is our next project. Now, I was gifted this. I'm not sure that I wanted it, but I was gifted it. And so I feel compelled to try and do something with it. I don't know. I don't really have a plan. I need to get this off it, see what I'm working with, and then maybe I'll have a plan. So really the first step is this has got all kinds of nails. This is all done with nails, not even, this is how old it is, not even staple gun. So I'm gonna be working all these little tiny rusted tack nails out of this. We'll get all of this old fabric off. I will not be saving any of the fabric. And we'll see what we're looking at. And then we'll see what I feel like. If I don't feel like doing it, you'll never see this video. So you'll never know. Okay, that was quite a battle. Oh shoot, I still have a couple more nails to go. Mostly because this is really old. So the nails are rusty and the heads would just, they're kind of rusty so that they just sort of shatter and then you don't have anything to pry against. So I was using a lot of different tools to try and get up under them, to dig them out. You can see that this is unremarkable wood. So we are going to have to recover it entirely. This is just old pieces. It does have the webbing here, and as old as it is, I'm gonna clean it all down, but I'm not gonna replace it. This isn't worth it. You can see how old it is because it's got the old horsehair lining. All this goes. I'm gonna see if I have any kind of padding here. If I do, then I'll work something out with that. Well, and if I don't, I have to work something out. So either way, it's not, so here's the call here. None of this is good wood. So it is not worth going and buying new materials or extra materials to be able to fix this up super fancy, because I'd never get the money back from it. Already the time spent taking nails out is probably more than this is worth. So apparently I got a couple more to go, and then I will be painting out the base. So meaning I'm just going to paint the legs, and I'll probably paint this section just in case some of it shows a little from, well, I don't even have to paint that section because I'm going to have to cover this over. Anyway, so I'm gonna be painting these out. I'm gonna do it in Bayberry, which is an all-in-one from Fusion. It's kind of a really nice green color. I'm just going fairly neutral on it because I still don't know what I'm doing with the top. I don't know fabrics. I don't know anything. But this will work. It'll help hide some of the bald spots, and it'll hide a multitude of sins, I think is what I'm saying. So I gotta get a couple more of these nails out. Yes. And then I'm gonna get it lightly sanded and the legs done in Bayberry. And then I'm gonna have to scope out what I've got hanging around here that I can maybe fix this up so it'll look good, but not cost me a bundle. Always the dilemma. You always have to think about the money you're putting into a piece versus the money that you're likely to be able to get from it. This isn't a particularly unusual or, you know, I mean, it is vintage, if not definitely antique, but there's no value to it whatsoever. So any of the value is what I end up creating or putting into it. And a footstool like this is not going to go for big money. So I don't want to spend big money making it. Always a consideration. All right, my legs are all dry, and I love that. I love that color for this. I took a look at my fabric stash, and I took a look at whatever little pieces of this I have left, and I think this one will be okay. I think it'll be, you know, maybe a little narrow in spots, but again, nothing that I'm going to agonize over, because this isn't a super expensive or super special little piece. So I'm just going to, okay, that's going to take me too long to figure out how to put those back together. Grab a different pair of scissors. All right, so this is going to go down on top. It's just going to provide a little bit more padding, and I'm happy with that. I'm okay with that. What I found in my back stash is this kind of cute fabric piece. It's got some florals, a little daisy. It's pretty cute. It's pretty thin though. So what I do have is a bed sheet that I will line it with, so that it's going to be backed by that. What I need to do first though is see pattern wise what we got going on here, and what pieces I kind of like the daisy. I'd kind of like to incorporate that on the top, in which case, if that's going there, and I have to have enough, it's just not going to fit in the middle, is it? Ay, ay, ay. All right, well, it's all daisies down that side. We got a little tiny daisy right in the middle of the whole sheet. Okay, let's see what the daisy is on this end. Oh, the daisy's in a better spot. Okay, so now that I've decided where that can go, I'm going to look at, this piece is roughly the size of my top, roughly. And then I have more inches on either side. I like to give myself lots of fabric to work from. So I'm gonna cut this piece out, coming out very wide on the sides, so that I have enough to come over and to be able to staple down in on this side. So I need to come over to about here on this side, same on either end. And then I'm going to use that as my pattern and cut out the same size of my bed sheet. I've got my fabric cut out, and I've got my bed sheet. And I thrifted that fabric, and I thrifted the bed sheet. Just, I use sheets or plain fabric or that sort of thing so much in a lot of crafts that, you know, you see them and sometimes they're like $4 for a whole sheet, and then you have all that fabric to be able to use for all kinds of other projects. So I have my fabric face down, so it's the right side down, and then the other fabric as my backing sheet. And then I am just going to lay this kind of roughly in the center of it all. And whatever pattern is there is there. So the next thing I need is my staple gun. So I need to go plug that in. I'll be right back. Okay, I've got a slightly different angle here because I think it'll be easier for you to be able to see. What we're going to do is start on one side and pull both our fabrics up and over fairly taut, and we're going to staple it in place. Okay, and I just want to do one on either side of that. So much easier than all those little nails that they use. And then I like to flip it around. So what I want is to have it staying nice and flat and taut. And it's easiest to do if I do a little bit. I mean, the corners are always the trickiest part. The edges are just never that bad. So holding it nice and taut, stapling it in place. So you could use tacking nails for this. You could use just a normal handheld staple gun. I just have the power one. Let me see my little patterning here. Okay, cute. And then I want to come to the ends. So here we want to do the same thing, stapling in the middle. And the other end as well. And here I want to make sure that I'm pulling both those fabrics. All right. So when it comes to the corner, we have, as you can tell, way too much fabric here, right? We can't wrap around and leave that hanging. And we don't want to have all that fabric in the way. We are going to want to pull it in here. All right, I'm going to put a couple more tacking staples over here. I was going to say nails. Staples over here, just so that I'm a little closer to the edge of each. And then I'll be back. All right, I want to give you an idea of, I want a nice clean look across here. I'm not looking at adding rickrack, so I cannot do staples along here, along that upper edge, which means at the corner, I can't either. So I'm doing this kind of tucked corner. You need to be a little more tucked there, sorry. So what I want is to always have the fold on the same side. So there's no fold coming down here. This is just going to be nice and straight. The fold is going to happen toward the short end, which means this becomes my cut point. All right, so meaning this stuff is all going to get folded up here. So here I get to cut off my fabric. Now I want it to go slightly around, but that's kind of how you know what, I just fake this stuff. So I'm just going to cut down roughly there. And I only want to cut down far enough that I can wrap. Okay, so here I need to get rid of excess fabric. So there's just too much here. So what I am going to do is kind of fold that up. And that side up and over. So I'm just going to tuck this. I want this ultimately tucked straight across here. So I need a small cut just to that side of the leg. Now, I can staple this on this side, not this side. This is going to be visible. This side is going to be hidden by the fold. So I can add a staple there. To tack that in place. So that'll hold that. And then over here, I can put my final staple in right up over here to hold that in place. So I've got a nice, I got a nice edge across here. This side is ultimately going to get folded back and up, right? But we got way too much fabric here, so we want to get rid of a bunch of this too. I don't technically get rid of more than I need at first. I cut away in little bits and pieces to make sure I don't cut away something I do need. All right. But that's where my fold takes place. So I do want to get rid of a little bit more fabric. I'm sure there's a formula for this, but you know what? There's nothing wrong with faking things, guys. Okay, so that's where my fold's going to be. I need to fold this side down. So what I want to do is if this is coming across here, then I need less of this. Because it's going to get in the way. And ultimately, I need this to come across to here so that this is able to fold in and under too. So I need this to come down just a tinge more. And this gets folded in and down and pulled tight. And here I take one nail, one little baby tiny nail, which are a little bit painful because they're so small. All right, so I end up with just one tiny little nail in the corner. And then this gets turned in on itself. And staple down again. And obviously we're going to cut away all this excess fabric. I just leave it on until I've got my corners done. And there you go. We end up with a nice, quick little recover. Now, I didn't have a lot of the material to go down over the edges and stuff, but this is just a little footstool. I did end up on these ones folding the ends under and staple gunning them on this side, and I like that better than the cut edge. Wish I'd done that all the way around, but it's just a kind of a quick way to go. You got squared off little corners, little tack nail, and this at least has some new life. Obviously, the fabric you choose is going to change the look entirely, but you know, rather than tossing it, even a quick little recover like this, if the material hadn't been so old and disgusting, I could have just recovered right over top of it, painted the legs, and then do the fabric right over. So even, you know, if you wanted to go, you can see it's wobbly as well. But if you wanted to recover this one, I mean, just go right over top. You could add more padding, go right over top of it with whatever fabric you have in mind, you're good to go. But things like this they're not going to sell for very much. So make sure that you are, you know, buying some cast off fabric from the thrift store, or, you know, you're using an old curtain or something to be able to recover them. Maybe if you've just had things recovered, then you're just using a spare piece of material. Don't invest tons of time in these because they don't sell for lots, but you can definitely give them new life. I'm not big on recovering, so I feel exhausted from the stress of this. I'm sure there's some of you that recover all the time that you're kind of going, no, don't do it that way, but I've got a nice squared off corner and I'm perfectly happy with that. I'm open to learning the proper way of doing it, but I'm perfectly happy as things stand right now. Looking forward to seeing you on the next one as always, and until then, take care.